I never thought I'd live to see my own death certificate. But there it was, right in front of me. It was a Thursday morning. The kind of morning when the light comes through the kitchen window just right, warm and golden, like a gentle hand on your shoulder. I had made myself a cup of coffee, black with a little sugar, and was sorting through my mail like I always did. Most of it was junk, grocery coupons, pharmacy flyers, and a reminder for a doctor's appointment I'd already been to. Then I saw the envelope. It had a government seal on it, one of those official ones that make your heart skip a beat for no reason. My name, Evelyn May Carter, was typed across the front in clean black letters. When I opened it, I didn't even understand what I was looking at first. The paper was white, crisp, heavy in my hands. But when I read the first line, "This is to certify that Evelyn May Carter passed away on," I froze. It said I was dead. For a moment, I actually laughed. I thought maybe it was a mistake. Maybe someone else with my name had passed, and the office sent the wrong form. I checked the date of birth, my date. I checked the address, my address. My hand started shaking. I whispered to myself, "What in the world?" and read it again. I sat there staring at that piece of paper for what felt like hours. I touched my chest. I could feel my heart beating. I was breathing. I was alive. But according to the state of California, I wasn't. I called the number listed on the bottom right corner, the county clerk's office. A young woman picked up, cheerful at first. But when I told her why I was calling, her tone changed. "Wait, ma'am, you're calling to say you're alive?" she said, a little confused. "Yes," I said, "because this paper says I'm not." She went silent for a moment, typing on her keyboard. Then she said, "Mrs. Carter, can I confirm your social security number?" I gave it to her, and I could hear more typing. Then she spoke again, slower this time. "Mrs. Carter, according to our records, you passed away 3 months ago." My stomach dropped. She asked me a few more questions, and then finally she said something that made everything inside me twist. "Ma'am, it says here that a death claim was filed for your life insurance, and it's been processed. I didn't have to ask who filed it. Deep down, I already knew. My grandson, Caleb. He was the only one who ever had access to my documents. I'd trusted him with everything. My mail, my bank stuff, even my spare keys. He was the one who helped me set up my insurance policy years ago, when I told him I wanted to make sure he'd be okay after I was gone." I sat there staring out the window, the morning sun turning to a blur through the tears I didn't realize had fallen. I kept whispering, "No, not Caleb, not my Caleb. He wasn't just my grandson. He was my heart." After my husband passed, Caleb was the only one who stayed in touch regularly. He'd call me every Sunday, stop by with groceries, fix my TV when it froze. I called him my hero. He'd laugh and say, "You're my favorite old lady, Grandma." And now, my favorite boy, my hero, had declared me dead. I hung up the phone and just sat there for the longest time. My coffee had gone cold. My hand trembled when I reached for it. I wanted to believe there was another explanation. Maybe a mistake, maybe some mix-up. But the voice on the other end was clear. The insurance had already been claimed. I picked up my phone and tried to call Caleb. Straight to voicemail. I called again. Then again, nothing. That's when I opened my laptop, the one he'd set up for me, and checked his social media. His account was still there, full of pictures of him and his girlfriend, smiling at restaurants, traveling. The latest photo was from 2 days ago. Him holding a new car key in front of a shiny silver truck. The caption read, "Finally ours. Hard work pays off." My chest felt like it was caving in. I whispered to the empty room, "You bought that with my death." I must have sat in that chair for hours, staring at his pictures, scrolling back through old ones. Him as a little boy on my lap, him at Christmas, him holding his diploma. Every memory was like a punch to the heart. I wanted to hate him. God knows I wanted to. But all I could feel was pain. The kind that comes from love that's been betrayed too deeply to be angry anymore. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every sound in the house felt louder. The hum of the fridge, the ticking clock, the creak of the floor when I walked. I went to my closet and opened the old metal box where I kept all my important papers. My birth certificate, my will, and the life insurance policy. And sure enough, the policy folder was gone. He must have taken it months ago. That's when it really hit me. This wasn't an accident. It wasn't a mix-up. My grandson had faked my death. And suddenly, everything I'd ignored for months started to make sense. The times he didn't pick up my calls. The excuses. Busy with work, Grandma. Can't visit this week. I'll come by soon. I thought he was growing up, but he was just slipping away. By the time the sun came up, I was still sitting in that same chair. My eyes hurt from crying. My throat felt dry. I didn't know what to do or who to call. But one thing was clear. I wasn't going to let him bury me while I was still breathing. So I picked up the phone and called the police. When I called the police that morning, I didn't even know what to say. How do you tell someone that your own grandson pretended you were dead? I must have sounded crazy, because the officer on the line paused for a long moment before saying, "Ma'am, can you please repeat that?" So I did. I told him about the death certificate, the insurance, the missing policy folder. My voice cracked halfway through, and I had to stop to catch my breath. He said he'd send someone over to take a report. About an hour later, a young officer showed up. He couldn't have been older than 30. He was polite, kind-eyed, and gentle, but I could see he didn't quite know what to make of the situation either. He sat down at my dining table while I poured him some coffee. I still had that old instinct to host, even when my world was falling apart. He asked me to show him the letter and the certificate. I slid them across the table. He looked through them carefully, then asked, "Do you have any idea who might have filed this?" My throat tightened. "My grandson," I said quietly. He looked up from the paper. "Do you know why he might have done it?" I shook my head, staring down at my hands. "I don't know. He's a good boy, or at least I thought he was." The officer nodded, scribbled some notes, and said they'd look into it. He asked for Caleb's full name, address, phone number, all of which I knew by heart. When he left, he gave me a small nod and said, "We'll do what we can, ma'am, and I'm sorry you're going through this." After he was gone, the house felt too quiet again. I sat at the table staring at the 2 empty coffee cups. Mine was cold, his barely touched. I didn't want to believe my grandson could do something so heartless. I kept thinking maybe someone else talked him into it. Maybe he was desperate, maybe in trouble. Maybe he didn't mean for it to go so far. But the truth kept cutting through those excuses like a knife. He took my documents, he faked my death, he cashed in the money, and then he disappeared. For the next few days, the police kept in touch. They asked me for more details, things I didn't even realize I remembered. Like the time Caleb came over to help me organize my important papers a few months ago. Or when he suddenly stopped calling after that. Or when I got a strange voicemail from an unknown number. Someone asking if the estate of Evelyn Carter was still open for inquiries. I hadn't thought much of it then. But now it all made sense. One morning, a detective called me. His name was Detective Reynolds. Older, steadier voice. The kind of man who sounded like he'd seen it all. He said, "Mrs. Carter, we've confirmed there was a claim processed through your insurance company. It looks like your grandson Caleb was the beneficiary." Hearing it from him made it real in a way it hadn't been before. My heart sank again, like it was the first time I'd heard it. "Do you want to press charges?" he asked. That question hit me hard, because what mother, what grandmother, ever wants to press charges on their own blood? I didn't know what to say. I told him I needed time. That night, I sat in my armchair and stared at the picture on my mantel. Me and Caleb at his high school graduation. He was smiling so big, his arm around my shoulder. I remember that day so clearly. He'd looked at me and said, "I couldn't have done this without you, Grandma." And I had believed him. I whispered to that photo, "Why, baby? Why would you do this to me?" The next day, the detective called again. He said Caleb hadn't responded to their calls or emails, and that his last known address was now vacant. I felt my stomach twist. He'd moved out, probably with the money. I sat down on the couch, holding the phone to my chest, just breathing. The kind of deep, heavy breathing you do when you're trying not to fall apart. It's a strange thing, losing someone who's still alive. You grieve them, but they're out there somewhere, breathing, laughing, living their life. Just not with you anymore. Days turned into weeks. The police kept me updated now and then, but nothing really changed. They said they were tracking financial activity, that it might take time. I didn't know what time even meant anymore. My days all looked the same. Wake up, make coffee, stare out the window, wonder where everything went wrong. Then one afternoon, I got a call from a woman named Teresa. She said she was from my insurance company's fraud department. Her voice was warm but careful, like she was trying to be gentle with bad news. She told me they had officially frozen the claim and were investigating Caleb for fraud. I asked her if the money could be returned. She said maybe, if they could prove everything. I told her to take it all. I didn't care about the money. I just wanted my grandson back. After that call, I sat in silence again. The house, my house, felt too big all of a sudden. Every creak of the wood, every gust through the old vents. It all reminded me how empty it was. How empty I felt. I used to love my quiet evenings. I'd read books, watch my old shows, talk to Caleb on the phone. But now, the silence felt like punishment. I'd think back to when he was a little boy, running through my yard with a plastic bat, calling out, "Grandma, watch me hit it this time." He used to look up at me with eyes full of love and trust. And now those same eyes had lied to the world and said I was gone. About a month after the first letter came, I got another knock at the door. It was Detective Reynolds again. He came in, hat in hand, sat across from me, and said quietly, "We found him." I froze. "Where?" "In Nevada. He was staying with some friends. We contacted him. He denied everything at first, but when we showed him the paperwork, he broke down. I didn't say anything. I just waited for him to keep going. He said he didn't mean for it to go this far. Said he was in debt, that he thought he could file the claim, get the money, and make it right later. He told us he planned to tell you eventually." I swallowed hard. "He told you that?" Reynolds nodded. "Yes, ma'am." He also said he didn't expect it to go through so easily. Once the money hit his account, he panicked and left. I felt my eyes fill up again. "So, what happens now?" "He's being charged with fraud, identity theft, and falsifying legal documents. But we'll need your cooperation moving forward." I sat back in my chair. I felt so tired, like all the years had suddenly caught up to me at once. My mind said justice was important, but my heart just wanted this nightmare to end. "I'll help," I whispered. "I'll do whatever I need to." He nodded, thanked me, and handed me his card. Before he left, he said, "You know, ma'am, I've worked a lot of fraud cases, but I've never seen one quite like this. I'm sorry you had to go through it." After he left, I went to my bedroom, closed the door, and just cried. Not the loud kind, just quiet tears that fell and fell until there weren't any left. I kept thinking about Caleb. Not the man who lied, but the boy who used to bring me dandelions and tell me they were flowers. I thought about his little voice saying, "Grandma, I'll always take care of you." And I wondered when exactly that promise had died. Weeks later, I got a letter from Caleb. It came through the police department, since he wasn't allowed to contact me directly. My hands shook as I opened it. The letter started with Grandma, and just seeing that word broke me all over again. He wrote about how sorry he was, how he'd been drowning in debt, how he thought the money would help him start over. He said he never meant to hurt me, that he figured the company would deny the claim, that no one would even find out. He said, "When I saw your name on that check, I realized what I'd done. I didn't just fake your death. I killed everything good you ever thought about me." I read that line over and over until the ink blurred. He ended it with, "If you can ever forgive me, I promise I'll spend the rest of my life making it right. I love you, Grandma. I always did. I just lost my way." I folded the letter carefully and set it down on the table. I didn't know what to feel. Part of me wanted to tear it up. Another part wanted to hold it close and pretend it came from the Caleb I used to know. That night, I sat on my porch, watching the sunset. The sky turned gold, then pink, then deep blue. I thought about how life has a way of breaking your heart and still asking you to keep going. I whispered into the quiet, "I forgive you, Caleb." But I don't know if I can ever forget. The stars started to come out one by one, like tiny reminders that even in darkness, light still shows up. Maybe that's what forgiveness is. Light showing up again after the dark. After that letter, something inside me shifted. Not completely. Not like forgiveness made everything okay. It didn't. But it made the anger loosen its grip a little. I was still hurt, still disappointed, still wondering how the boy I once rocked to sleep could ever see me as a $sign. But I also knew, deep down, that holding on to hate was like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to get sick. So I tried to let go, slowly, one piece at a time. The police kept me updated as the case moved along. There were hearings, paperwork, calls, and questions. It all felt so heavy. I never imagined I'd have to talk about fraud charges and identity theft because of my own grandson. It was surreal, painful, and embarrassing. Some neighbors even started whispering. Not in a cruel way, but you know how small towns are. Everyone hears something, and everyone has an opinion. I stopped going to church for a while. I couldn't stand the kind looks, the soft, "bless your hearts," the gentle pity. I didn't want pity. I just wanted peace. Months went by. One morning, Detective Reynolds called again. He said Caleb had accepted a plea deal. Some jail time, restitution, and mandatory counseling. He told me I might get a portion of the stolen money back. I didn't even care about that part anymore. What hurt more than anything was that Caleb didn't ask to see me, not even once. You'd think after all that, after the tears and the letter, he'd want to look me in the eye and apologize. But maybe he couldn't. Maybe shame is heavier than regret. So I went on living, quietly. The days started blending together again. Mornings with coffee, evenings on the porch, TV humming softly in the background. Sometimes I'd hear a knock at the door and my heart would skip, thinking maybe, just maybe, it was him. But it never was. I started volunteering at the local library, helping kids with reading. It gave me something to look forward to. Some of them reminded me of Caleb when he was little. Full of questions, messy handwriting, smiles that could melt your heart. I'd sit there watching them laugh, and sometimes I'd catch myself smiling too. I guess life doesn't stop giving you little pieces of joy, even when your heart's been broken. A year passed like that. Then one day I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to. "Grandma?" The voice was soft, shaky, but familiar. It was Caleb. For a moment I couldn't speak. My heart started pounding and my throat tightened up. "Caleb?" I whispered. "Yeah," he said quietly. "It's me. I got out early. For good behavior." There was a long pause before he added, "I wanted to call sooner, but I didn't think you'd want to hear from me." I took a deep breath. I didn't know what I wanted, Caleb. I didn't think I'd ever hear your voice again, he sighed. "I don't deserve that chance, Grandma." But I had to try. For a while, neither of us said anything. I could hear the wind on his end, maybe cars in the background. Then he said, "I'm trying to get my life together. Got a job at a garage. It's not much, but it's honest. I'm staying at a halfway house right now." "That's good." I said softly. "I'm proud of you for taking that step." He sounded surprised. You're proud of me?" "Of course," I said. "You made terrible choices, Caleb, but you're still my grandson. I'll never stop hoping you'll do better." He didn't say anything for a while. Then I heard him sniffle. "I miss you, Grandma." I closed my eyes, feeling tears well up again. "I miss you too, baby." He asked if he could visit sometime. I told him yes, but not right away. "We both need a little time," I said. "Let's start with phone calls, letters. Then maybe when the time feels right, you can come home." He agreed. And that's how we started. Slow, careful, step by step. For weeks, he'd call me every Sunday evening. Sometimes we'd talk for 10 minutes, sometimes an hour. He told me about his job, about the people at the garage, about how he was trying to pay back what he owed. I told him about the library, the weather, the roses that refused to bloom that year. It wasn't much, but it was something. And something felt like a miracle after everything we'd been through. One evening, a few months later, he said, "Grandma, I've been saving up. I want to come visit. I'll take the bus. I don't expect you to trust me, but I just want to see you, even if it's just for 5 minutes." I hesitated. My heart said yes right away, but my mind was scared. What if it brought all the pain back? What if seeing him just made it harder? But deep down, I knew. Forgiveness doesn't really mean much until you put it into action, so I told him to come. The day he arrived, it was raining. That soft, steady kind of rain that makes everything smell clean and quiet. I stood by the window watching the street, and there he was, stepping off the bus. He looked thinner, older, worn down. But when he saw me through the window, he gave this small, nervous wave. The same way he used to when he was a kid. When I opened the door, he just stood there for a second, like he wasn't sure if he was allowed to move. Then I stepped forward and hugged him. He froze for a moment, then hugged me back, tight like he was afraid I'd disappear again. And just like that, all the anger, all the questions, all the years of hurt, they didn't vanish, but they softened. We stood there in the doorway, both crying quietly, rain tapping on the porch roof above us. When we finally sat down, he kept apologizing, over and over. "Grandma, I was stupid. I thought I was fixing things. I thought I could handle it. I just didn't know what I was doing." I touched his hand. "You were lost, Caleb. We all get lost sometimes. What matters now is that you found your way back," he nodded, eyes red, voice trembling. "I don't expect you to ever trust me again." I looked at him and said, "Then spend the rest of your life proving I can." He smiled, small, fragile, but real. And for the first time in a long while, I saw a piece of the boy I used to know. We spent hours talking that day, about everything, the good, the bad, the in-between. He helped me fix a loose cabinet door, changed a light bulb I couldn't reach. We even had dinner together. Nothing fancy, just soup and cornbread. But it felt like a feast. When he left that night, he hugged me again and whispered, "Thank you for not giving up on me." After he was gone, I sat on the porch and looked out at the quiet street. The rain had stopped, and the moon peeked out from behind the clouds. I thought about how life can break your heart in ways you never expect, but also heal it in the smallest, simplest moments. I didn't know what would happen next. Maybe Caleb would rebuild his life. Maybe we'd stay close again. Or maybe we'd drift apart once more. But whatever came next, I knew one thing for sure. I'd finally found peace, because forgiveness, I realized, wasn't about saying, what he did was okay. It was about freeing myself from the weight of it. It was about remembering that love, even when broken, still finds its way home. After Caleb's visit that day, my world felt a little less empty, not whole, but not hollow anymore either. For the next few months, he kept his word. Every Sunday, without fail, he'd call. Sometimes from the garage, sometimes from a payphone, sometimes late at night when his shift ended. His voice always sounded tired but calmer, steadier even. like he was finally learning to breathe again. He'd tell me things like, "Grandma, I fixed an old Chevy today," or "One of the guys at work said my hands remind him of his dad's." Strong but kind. Little things, simple things, but to me, they were everything. It wasn't about the money anymore, or the lies, or the court papers. It was about hearing life in his voice again. It was about knowing that the boy I loved hadn't disappeared completely. Sometimes I'd sit on the porch, phone in hand, waiting for his call like a teenager waiting for a date. He'd always laugh when I told him that. "Grandma, don't tell me you sit by the phone all day." "Well," I'd tease back, "maybe I just enjoy your company more than my soap operas." He'd chuckle and say, "You're too good for me." And I'd answer softly, "Maybe, but you're trying, and that's worth something." Slowly, the cracks between us began to close. They never vanished, but they filled with something like understanding. Maybe that's what healing really is. Not a clean slate, but a gentler version of what was left behind. One morning, almost a year after that rainy day when he first came back, Caleb asked if he could come by for dinner again. "Of course," I said. "You don't even need to ask." But this time he said he wanted to cook. That made me laugh. "You cook? The boy who once burned cereal?" He laughed too. "Hey, I've learned a few things. Just trust me." So I did. That evening he showed up with grocery bags and a nervous grin. He made spaghetti, a little too salty, but delicious all the same. We ate, talked, and for a while it felt almost like old times. When he was younger, we used to cook together every Sunday. Him stirring the sauce, me pretending not to notice when he licked the spoon. Now here we were again, years later, trying to rebuild something out of ashes. At one point, I caught him staring at me quiet. "What's on your mind, Caleb?" I asked. He looked down and said softly, "I still think about what I did every day. I wish I could undo it." I reached across the table, took his hand, and said, "You can't undo the past, honey. None of us can. But you can build something better from what's left." He nodded, his eyes glistening. "I want to make you proud again." I smiled. "You already are." Later that night, as he was leaving, he stopped by the door and said, "Grandma, do you ever wish things had gone differently?" I thought for a long moment before answering. "I used to," I said. "But if things hadn't gone wrong, we might never have found our way back to each other." He smiled, not a sad smile this time, but a hopeful one. Then he hugged me goodbye, holding on a little longer than before. After that, life kept moving, slow but steady. Caleb visited often. Sometimes he brought groceries, sometimes flowers, sometimes just himself. We didn't talk about the past much anymore. Not because we were ignoring it, but because we'd made peace with it. He started saving money too. Told me he wanted to go back to school, maybe study auto mechanics properly. I told him that was wonderful. "You've got a knack for it," I said. He laughed. "Guess it runs in the family. Patience and stubbornness." One afternoon, he came by with a surprise. "Come outside, Grandma," he said. I followed him to the driveway, where a small beat-up car was parked. "It's mine," he said proudly. "Got it for $200. Needs work, but I fixed most of it myself." I smiled so wide it hurt. "Oh, Caleb, it's beautiful." He laughed. "Beautiful? Grandma, the paint's peeling." "Well," I said, "beauty's not always about shiny things. It's about effort and heart. And this has both." He blushed, just like he did when he was little. That evening, we sat on the porch watching the sunset, like we used to. The air smelled like cut grass and coffee. I realized then how much lighter my chest felt. The anger that once sat there had turned into something softer. Maybe acceptance, maybe love, maybe both. Caleb turned to me suddenly and said, "I told the guys at work about you, about how you still believed in me. One of them said I'm lucky. I told him, no, I'm blessed." That nearly broke me. I didn't cry. Not right away. But later, when I was alone, I did. Quiet tears of gratitude this time, because sometimes the same people who break you can also be the ones who remind you that you're still capable of love. Time passed. 2 years later, Caleb got his own apartment, a small one-bedroom place near the garage. He invited me over once, said he wanted me to see it. I brought him a plant for his windowsill. He said it made the place feel like home. I remember looking around at his little living room, a thrift store couch, a coffee table with one wobbly leg, and a wall calendar marked with work shifts. It wasn't much, but it was honest. It was his. When I was about to leave that day, he walked me to my car and said, "Grandma, I'm sorry again. For everything." I looked at him. Really looked at him. "I know," I said. "And I forgive you. I forgave you a long time ago." He smiled and his eyes softened. "You're the reason I'm still here." I reached up, brushed his cheek gently and said, "No, Caleb, you're the reason I'm still here." We both laughed, and it felt like the sun finally came out after a long winter. Over the next few years, life found a rhythm again. Caleb called every few days, stopped by on weekends, helped with chores. I grew older, slower. Some days I needed his arm to steady me when we went out. He'd tease, "Don't worry, Grandma, I won't let you fall." And I'd smile and say, "Not this time, huh?" We'd laugh, and the world would feel okay again. But one evening, I noticed something different in his eyes. He seemed restless, nervous almost. We were sitting on the porch again, sipping iced tea, when he finally said, "Grandma, there's something I want to tell you." My heart skipped. "What is it, honey?" He hesitated, then smiled. "I met someone," I laughed. "Oh, Caleb, that's wonderful." He grinned shyly. "Her name's Emily. She's sweet. I wanted to make sure things were steady before I told you." "Well," I said, "if she makes you smile like that, I already like her." He chuckled, but then looked serious again. "I want you to meet her, Grandma. She knows everything, about the past, about me, and she still sees good in me. I think you'll like her." A few weeks later, he brought her by. Emily was warm, polite, and kind. The kind of girl who looks you in the eye and really listens. She helped me carry dishes, asked about my garden, and called me Mrs. Dawson even though I told her to just say, "Grandma." Watching the two of them together, laughing and teasing each other, filled me with something I hadn't felt in years. Pure joy. As they left that night, Caleb turned back and said, "You'll be proud of me, Grandma. I promise." I smiled and whispered, "I already am." Years rolled by. Seasons changed. Caleb married Emily, and soon after they had a baby girl. They named her Grace. When Caleb told me, I cried. "Grace," I said softly. "That's the perfect name." He smiled. "Yeah." Emily picked it. Said it reminded her of forgiveness. That little girl became the light of my life. The first time she called me Grandma Mary, my heart melted. She had Caleb's eyes and Emily's smile. I'd sit on the porch, holding her, humming the same lullabies I once sang to him. Sometimes when the wind was quiet, I'd whisper, "See, God? You knew what you were doing, didn't you?" Because somehow, through all the pain, all the loss, all the mistakes, love found its way back to me. It didn't come all at once. It didn't erase the past, but it filled the spaces the pain had hollowed out. Now, when I look at my family, Caleb, Emily, little Grace, I don't see betrayal anymore. I see redemption. I see second chances. I see love that survived the fire. And maybe that's what life is, after all. A long, messy story about falling apart and finding your way back. So, if you've made it this far, thank you for listening to mine. Maybe your heart has its own scars, too. Maybe you've been hurt by someone you love. Someone you thought would never let you down. If you have, just remember this. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means freeing yourself to love again. Even if it takes years, even if it hurts, Because in the end, love doesn't die easy. It just waits, quietly, for the right moment to bloom again. And if my story meant something to you tonight, please give this video a like, share it with someone who might need a little hope, and subscribe, because sometimes even broken hearts have more stories left to tell.